speaker today, Donnie. I hope you're awake. You had a long night, I think. I got to hear Donnie Hall talk. He's the sports information director at Roane State. He's the assistant basketball coach and also, right, coach of the men and women's cross country team. Oh, they let you give that one up. I figured that might be the case. But he talked, we had the first, what was it, actually called the first awards banquet that I guess Roane State has ever had, honoring all the kids that won different awards and had accomplishments and stuff. And he presented a lot of things about the history of Roane State sports. And I thought it would be an interesting program to hear him talk about all that. So Donnie, come on up. And maybe just clip that on there, and the mic there too kind of helps. There you go.
You know what I'm going to do? Uh-oh. I did stand-up comedy for years, so I'm going to do this. Oh. Hi, everybody. I'm Coach Hall. And Coach Wright, thank you very much for introducing me and inviting me to be here today. Roane State Community College started, in my mind, there's a picture of Governor Winfield Dunn with a shovel in his hand, breaking ground at Roane State in 1970. Our first athletic teams were, once they had completed the buildings, our first athletic teams took the field, or the court as it was, in 1972. It was men's basketball and baseball in the spring of 1972. Coach Larry Works was the first baseball coach, and if any of you have been around Roane State, Coach Works is still there. He is a psychology professor at Roane State. And so for 50 years, Roane State has had this amazing program. And it took our men's basketball team 50 years and an overtime period to finally win a conference championship and go to the national tournament, which they did this year. And so Roane State has just had an amazing run. In 1974, women's basketball was added to the roster of athletics. In 1984, they won the national championship. It was we are the only school in Tennessee of all the community colleges who have won a national championship, and that has been at Roane State. It's just been an amazing feat. We had golf. We had the golf program was, I can't, Tony, do you know who the head coach was back when Chris played?
Well, I forget his name, but you know, it's back in the early 80s, right?
Yeah, in the early 80s, late through the late 70s and into the 80s, we had a golf program, which our head coach, Chris Griffin, was a part of and went to the national tournament as an individual player. We had a tennis program under the tutelage of head coach David Mullins. David Mullins led the program for 9 years. The program was perennially in the top 10 nationally. And they finished, you have to understand, we're a small school in East Tennessee, and they finished 6th in the nation one year in the national tournament. So this was a huge accomplishment for a little school in East Tennessee. Later, we had basketball, men's and women's basketball. Women's basketball was added in 74, I think I mentioned. Men's and women's basketball, baseball, golf, tennis, men's and women's tennis. It even had a lot of foreign students who were playing there. I think of one player in particular named Engel Nolte, who was from South Africa, who was just an amazing player for Roane State. So long story short, it's like Roane State has just kept on going on in athletics, and we've been very successful. We had a president, some of you who've been around here may remember Kyler Dunbar, who was the first president of Roane State. When he left, the next president came along and wanted to get rid of athletics. Just wanted to get rid of it altogether. And she successfully got rid of tennis and golf. But because we had won the national championship in basketball, the people were saying, no, we can't get rid of sports altogether. But tennis and golf went away for many years. Softball came along because of Title IX. We had baseball, so we had softball. And then after that, we were able to finally bring back a golf program, and which we did. And then we had women's golf this past year. We have added a volleyball program. Our volleyball team in the past year was one win away from getting to the national tournament. Our men's basketball team went to the national tournament. This past season, our women's basketball team made a deep run in the conference tournament. Our baseball and softball teams made deep runs in their conference tournaments. This coming fall, we're adding men's and women's cross country, which I will be the coach of. I was interested in hearing about the son who ran the ultra marathon. I once ran 5 half marathons in 5 states in 5 days, which I don't think that's ultra, that's just stupid. But it's an experience. But running is something, I believe that running is something you can do your entire life. We are also next fall adding a women's soccer program to Roane State. So we've got a lot of things going, and actually, and I had a phone call into our athletic director to ask him if I could say this, but our housing is a big issue right now for our athletes. We have over 120 student athletes trying to live in and around our campus in Harriman. There's not enough housing for us. So our cross-country teams and our soccer teams may be based here out of Oak Ridge if we could think there's enough housing for us to be able to house another 40 students here in Oak Ridge. It's not a sure thing, but it's a very strong possibility that we may be moving some of our athletics here into the Oak Ridge area. But as I said, in 50 years of Roane State athletics, we've had some amazing successes, from a national championship to conference championships. And right now, Coach Wright, we have 2 players who are competing in the national championship for golf. And they're both Anderson County. One's an Oak Ridge student, one came from Anderson County High School. So, you know, even though we bring in players from many states and actually many countries as well in our program, we still are a community college. My first signee for men's cross country was a young man from Harriman. I ran a 5K 2 weeks ago, and he dusted it. He finished first overall, and he was just showing off, I think. But he had never run that fast before. I just signed a girl to our women's cross country team who has never run track, who's never run cross country in her life. But she just ran the Barkley Loop. If you are familiar with the Barkley Loop up at Frozen Head, it is one of the most grueling trails anybody could ever run. She finished that 22-mile trek in 6 hours, and her next objective is to climb Mount Rainier in July. But she's our first women's cross country signing, and she runs just, you know, cross country is 5 kilometers. She runs that just for the fun of it. So, you know, we've got some great athletes at Roane State, but our athletes are not just athletes; they're student athletes. Students come first. Our baseball team just finished the year with a cumulative GPA of 3.55. Baseball players are usually thought of as dumb, but this baseball team has shown that they are also athletes. We had over helping Tony, we had 15 to 20 athletes who were on the president's list. We had over 25 athletes who last year were academic All-Americans, and that was more than 15% of our student, of our total athletic student population who made the president's list. So what we tried to do, and as a coach, I want my team to be successful. I was the assistant women's basketball coach for 2 years under David Harnish, who Coach Harnish has won over 800 games in his career. That's a big deal. He's won 82% of his games. When you watch UT sports, there's not a coach there who's won 82% of his or her games. Not even past some had that kind of thing. And we've got Coach Harnish. We've had Alan Holt, who, by the way, is our men's basketball coach, and he's a graduate of Anderson County High School. So he's a local guy. I'm a local guy. Actually, in 1984, when the Roane State, they were then called the Raiderettes, were playing for the national championship, I was actually in the broadcast booth as a youngster calling those games. So I've been a fan of Roane State, of the Raiders, since I was a child. I went to my first collegiate game at Roane State. If you want to come to the gym at Harriman, I can show you exactly where I sat for that first game. I am very much a Roane State fan, and I'm very proud to be a Roane State coach and to hopefully have an impact in the lives of many of these student athletes. So I thank you, Tony, for coming. And you have any
let me
questions?
just say one thing too. The other thing, a number of these kids get to go further after Roane State and play sports, and it's a great opportunity for them. You know, of course, I know the golf guys, but all the other sports, there were many of the kids that are going on and playing at another level.
Yeah, and that's a big point. Through the years, we've had many of our athletes. We've had 2 of our baseball players that made it to the major leagues in baseball. We've had basketball players that moved on to Division I and played professionally overseas. It's an opportunity. It's a stepping stone. We have one guy on the men's basketball team right now out of Murfreesboro who is being, this one's out of Clarksville, but one thing. He played, nobody wanted him out of high school. He's played 2 years here, and he is now going to be a Tennessee ball. Play with UT. It's a stepping stone for a lot of the students who don't get noticed out of high school. Like I said, this young lady who I signed for the cross country team has never been on the team before. She goes, I don't know about being on the team, coach. I said, that's my job. You just go run your feet off, and I'm going to teach you how to do the strategy and all that. That's what I'm supposed to do. It's like Tony gets in the heads of the golfers, men and women golfers, and teaches them the smart points of golf. I wish he would help me out in that aspect as well. But we have just so many opportunities, and Roane State we've sent, at last count, over 100 athletes to, in 50 years, that doesn't seem like a lot, but 100 is what we can count in memory of kids who have gone on to play at 4-year colleges. You had a question?
Yeah, what's the population of Roane State total? How many campuses do you have, and what's the demographics outside of Tennessee? How many what percent?
Well, we have campuses we have 9 different campuses in several counties. There's Harriman, Oak Ridge, Harriman being the main campus, Crossville, Fentress County, Scott County, Wartburg has a campus, one in Loudon, one in Knoxville. We're all over. Our footprint is very large. Right now, enrollment in colleges as a whole is down across the nation, and we're no different. COVID had something to do with that, but kids started finally realizing that college isn't for everyone, and I'll cover my R up when I say that. It's not for everyone. They figured out that the trade schools aren't a bad way to go either. So The enrollment in TCAT is up. So where our numbers are going down, their numbers are going up. So I think we've got about 6,500 students across all the campuses right now. But that's a number that seems to stick in my head. It's called the Appalachian Conference. We have a school, it's the National Junior College Athletic Association. And there are 10 schools in our conference. Besides us, there's Cleveland State, Chattanooga State, Walter State, Monmouth State, Columbia State, Volunteer State, Dyersburg State, and Southwest Tennessee Community College out in Memphis. And that's our conference is 10 schools in Tennessee. Years ago, when Kentucky had community colleges or junior colleges, it was the Tennessee Junior and Community College Athletic Association. But we had Kentucky schools. Kentucky got rid of their JUCO athletic programs. So it went from like 22 schools that were competing to our 10, but with our conferences 10. We have basketball, baseball, softball are Division I schools where when we offer a scholarship, they get money for housing and books. Division II programs are our golf program, volleyball program, my cross country program. We don't get as much money, scholarship money. We just get to cover the cost of books. We don't get to pay for housing, and that's why it's important for us to get local kids to work with us. And that is also a reason why we try to raise money for our athletic programs, because these kids, even if I bring in a kid from Cokeville, they can't drive back and forth every day, so they've got to be able to afford housing and find housing. That one of the precepts when the Tennessee Board of Regents started the community college system in Tennessee in 1970 was they wanted them to be commuter schools. They did not want for us to build dorms. So none of the schools in Tennessee have dorms. Our women's basketball coach came from Nebraska, where they had dorms, they had the cafeteria, they had all these things. We don't have those. So the kids have to buy their own food. Now, I want to say this, that with the 120 student athletes that we have right now, they contribute to the economy. They pay rent, they buy food, they go to the movies, they do all these things. And that's 120 people that we brought into Roane County who are contributing to the economy of Roane County. Or who lives in Roane County in here? Can I ask people? Can I say it, Tony?
Just say it, but not anymore.
You're Roane County people. I'd love to talk to you afterwards. Because you'll see my name on some signs here before too long. But that's it. But again, I'm the biggest fan of Roane State athletics that's out there, and I believe red and royal, and I really believe that what we have is a product that people need to come to see for everything.
Maybe one more question, Mike?
Yeah, you talked a little bit about getting the books and housing. How about the tuition? Is that part of the scholarship?
Yeah. Well, for kids who come out of directly out of high school, Tennessee Promise covers that tuition. For out-of-state kids or kids who go to another school first, they don't get the Tennessee Promise, and the scholarship does cover the tuition, or at least part of the tuition for those.
Well, Donnie, thank you for being here and giving us a great presentation.